Is this like Aaron nervous with his wife on?
It's so quiet.
A little bashful.
This is the best. I told Adam, I was like, this is going to be so fun.
All right, everybody, welcome to Beyond I Do today. Thanks for joining us. We have two people special with us. We got Pastor Aaron and Erica in the house, which is Pastor Aaron's wife. So for those who watch Beyond the Letter and know Pastor Aaron, his wife joined us today. We were able to convince Erica.
Can I apologize ahead of time?
Yes, go ahead. Say your apology, whatever.
I'm so sorry if I offend you. It was not intentional.
Erica's basically the Latina version of Ashlee.
Yes.
And so, you never know what you'll get when you get both of them in the room. But what we wanted to talk about and cover today is, first of all, we got some hats on. I got a hat on that says Beyond I Do. Ashlee has a hats on for those that watch us on YouTube. We got hats on today. So we got a yellow one. We got a blue one. I don't think we have an online shop yet, but we got them in person at our campuses. So maybe you could DM someone and offer them $5 to go shopping for you. Find someone that goes to Abundant Living. So what we want to talk about today is blended families. So first of all, Aaron and Erica, why don't you tell us, how long have you guys been married? Both had to think about that.
I always forget this. So I only remember because Aaron says we're in our sweet 16. So we're in our 16th year of marriage with 3 daughters. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's started off really rough.
Which we'll get into today. So
But
16 years of marriage, dating, collectively dating, how long is that?
Another 3.5, 4 years. So
Okay, almost 20 years together.
Wow.
20 years in November, actually.
I don't think I knew that.
Yeah,
Wow.
20 years in
Nice.
November.
Yeah.
20 years together.
You guys have been together longer than Alizé's been alive.
Dang. Someone had to get her today.
I love
Someone
my
had to get
Alizé.
Alizé today. Okay, and blended family,
Yes.
right?
Yes, I have
So-
a daughter from a previous marriage.
So you were once married before Erica.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Married for,
How long were you married before?
7 years.
The way she's like trepidatiously.
It was the 7-year itch. Just
Oh,
hard.
that's
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
That
Hey.
7-year hump.
Yep.
It hits. It hits.
Sure did. Well, I hit a whole lot of other times prior, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so let's jump into that one first, okay? Because there's a lot of angles I want to take this talking to you guys today, okay? Obviously, first one is which we'll get into, and we'll do for future episodes, right? So just so you know, like this is meant to be your whole life story, right?
Yeah.
So we'll
Okay,
start with
I
the
don't know if you'll invite me back after today, but sure, let's do this.
we'll start with the important stuff, right?
Okay.
Which number one, Erica, what was it? How when you got a divorce or when you were in the marriage, when you ended, how active was, and then we use names, Eileen's dad, how active was he as you were a single mother? Because me and Ashlee have known you for many years, and you reminisce on your single mother years quite often.
I mean, technically, out of the 7 years that I was married to my first husband, Eileen's dad, I would say he was present 3 of those years.
Wow.
So majority of the time he was either off doing whatever he was doing, or he was in jail or prison or whatever you want to call it, he was there. So actively, I pretty much took on the whole role, like mother, father, household, running, just had to keep the train running because he was never really there.
And how old were you then?
I got married at 19 years old.
Dang.
Yeah.
You're
Dang,
young.
Alizé, you late.
Stop popping the babies. Yeah, I got married really young. So he was my high school sweetheart.
Wow.
You know, was with them since I was like 16, yeah. And then married him right after Eileen was born. Eileen was born in August. Married him in December of 1995. And yeah, it was quite a journey.
Yeah.
I literally grew up with
Yeah.
Eileen, trying to figure out life, being married. And
So was it the first 3 years that he was kind of involved?
no, he was actually not even there when she was born. So he was in prison when she was born.
Wow.
And he got out shortly after, about that same month, at the end of the month. And then we got married in December. And I'll be honest with you,
What?
I cried at that wedding. Like, I did not want to get out of my room and get married.
Oh, really?
Cried.
So were
but-
you doing it because you were pregnant?
No, I did it. I had already had Eileen. I did it
Right.
more because my aunt and my mom. So at the time I moved out. As soon as I turned 18, I moved out of my mom and dad's house. And when I got pregnant, you know, in the traditional Latino culture, you know, you can't do certain things. Well, I mean, biblically, right? You know?
Right.
And so at that time.
Right, everyone cusses, drinks, smokes.
Right, but
But
you
God
can't-
forbid have a child out of wedlock, right?
All of that,
And
right?
it's like,
Literally.
Yeah.
So it got to a point where like, oh, you know, he can't come over, like do certain, you know, whatever. Which I understood. I was renting from my aunt's house, and so I was gonna respect her household rules. And so they're like, you have to get married. If he wants to come over and spend the night with his daughter, you guys have to be married. And so we did that.
Wow.
And yeah, I cried. It
Dang.
was not a good.
Was
day
your
for
mom
me.
and aunt Catholic at the time?
Yeah. I was raised
They
Catholic,
still
so
are,
they're
right?
still Catholic.
Yeah.
So yeah, 7 years. So he wasn't present in the beginning. Got out. Was probably out like maybe a year. Went back in for a couple years. Got
Dang.
out for a year. Like I think he would do like 1 year stints out in the world.
Yeah.
And then it's like his real world was calling him back in. But you know
Yeah.
what they get? They get institutionalized.
Right,
Like that's
right.
all they know.
Right.
Yeah.
That's all they've lived most of their life. He grew up in a family where all his older siblings were in prison. So it's like that's what he saw. That's
Yeah.
what he knew. And so I believe he became institutionalized amongst, you know, drug abuse and
Yeah.
addiction that took over. And so, yeah, majority of the time it was like in, out, not around.
Yeah.
There would be days where, like, he wouldn't come home, like, for days. And I'd be like, where is he? Calling hospitals and jails and you name it. Nowhere to be found. But then he'd just pop up like, oh, I'm back.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so at year 7, you finally decide, like, all right, enough's enough. You initiate the divorce?
Yeah, so I actually was separated for like 2 years before I actually filed for divorce. And so in that time is when I met Aaron. And so
Okay.
in meeting Aaron, he's just like, you need to divorce this man. And I was like,
A little double dipping. I see you, Eric.
This is Beyond I Do Unplugged. I see.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah, this ain't beyond the letter. This no, you know.
yeah, so I was legally still married for
Yeah.
a couple years. And so I filed
And
for
none of you
divorce.
guys were Christians at the time,
No,
right?
we
No,
were
no.
living.
Far
At
from
that
it.
time, when I decided to separate from my ex-husband, I was never gonna get married again. I was like,
Wow.
screw men. They're just all jerks, you know, from my experience.
Never was gonna have any more kids.
Yeah, I'm
I'm
done
gonna
with
be a
kids.
single mother the rest of my
Yeah,
life.
like I'm gonna just do me, right? Like I remember you guys talking about
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
episode. But so such a bad attitude to have. But yeah, so when I met him, he's like, you need to divorce this guy. So it's like, all right. Honestly, I just didn't do it because I just didn't want to spend the money to do it. It wasn't. It wasn't for any other reason. He was in jail. He was in prison. So it's like would have been easy.
Yeah.
So yeah. So we finally.
Now, at that
divorced.
time, did you like no longer believe in the institute of marriage, or did you,
I didn't because I came from a broken household. So in my home, my mom and my dad were married in quite a few years. Never saw my mom fight, argue, nothing like that. But they lived complete separate lives where my mom would sleep in one room, my dad slept in another room. And
did she make his plate of food every night?
every
though?
night and washed his clothes and folded it and put it on
But they
his
never
bed.
spoke to each other.
Never spoke to each other during
Yeah.
that time.
Yeah.
Lived complete separate lives. And so, yeah, I mean, I just
Yeah.
was like, if this is what marriage is, like, I want nothing to do with it. But I'm like a firm believer of love. Like, I love being in love, you know? And one thing that I valued was marriage. And I remember even when I met Aaron, I was just like, if we're going to do, like, I didn't expect to get divorced. Like,
Right.
I mean, we could talk about another time, but the stuff that I experienced being married at such a young age with my first husband, I was just like, I went through it. Like, I
Yeah.
put up with quite a lot of stuff, and I was willing to just keep going through it
Yeah.
until I realized that it took two people to be in a marriage.
Yeah.
And so that's when I was just like, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I got to,
Yeah.
for this, my safety, you know, physically, emotionally, and my daughter's safety, it was just time to step
Yeah.
out.
So you're dating Aaron. Do you feel like you approached when it came to Eileen, which was she probably was like 5, 6?
No,
Her age?
7. She was
Oh,
7
7.
when they met. Uh-huh.
Okay. So how long did it take till Eileen met Aaron? And if you reflect backwards, because now you are a Christian, you're a leader in the church, both of you are, like, do you think that you introduced Aaron well into, Eileen's life? Or do you feel like there would be some things that I think I would have done this different had I know what I know today in my relationship with God, where it's at today? Like, where would you put that at?
So I was very cautious, and I don't want to offend anybody out there, but like I knew that my daughter, I had to protect my daughter because I feel like I failed at protecting her from her father and the things she was exposed to. So me and Aaron dated for almost 2 years before Eileen met him.
Mm-hmm.
So I did not want to have my daughter meeting men that I was dating or hanging out with if I knew it was not going to be serious. So there was a few people I dated before Aaron, and she had no idea, nothing. I was just going out with my girlfriends,
Yeah.
So I waited quite some time to introduce Eileen to Aaron, and it was like once we knew it was serious, but like we started talking about future and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, I guess it's time for her to meet this guy, because, I'd go away for the weekends. My mom used to help watch her. So, yeah, we dated in 23. So it was like not until 2005. So we started dating in 2003, and it was in 2005 when Eileen met Aaron for the first time. And Eileen's such a sweetheart. She's just very, like, lovable. And so, like, she took to him great.
Yeah.
I was hesitant how he was going to take her because Aaron hated kids.
So you was dating a man that was like, I ain't gonna have no kids, and,
Yep.
and you had this secret child at home?
Not a secret child. We just really weren't that intentional.
Yeah.
So then it was like we weren't going to get married. So we were just kind of hanging out, and then we just stayed consistent.
Y'all were fooling around. Just keep it 100.
Yeah, no, I mean,
We was hanging out. We was going pizza. And,
Scandia.
ice cream.
Right.
So there was no intentionality behind the relationship. I honestly, I'll be 100 transparent. When I met Aaron was dating somebody, and at that point I was like, I don't care because I'm not going to take this relationship seriously.
Yeah.
So I was just
Another
like,
double dip.
Wow, y'all was quadruple dipping.
Y'all stay double dipping.
we were going from chocolate strawberry
Right.
in the middle of
The colors of the rainbows.
As Pastor Diego would say, you put people onto the world standard of living.
Look, when I lived hard in the world, I went hard, and now I'm living hard for Christ. I go hard.
That's good.
Okay, so let's then fast forward. Okay, so some context. Then people fill in some context. Like we see Eileen now; she's in her late 20s. You walk down, Aaron. You walk down Eileen down the aisle, and I was Eileen's youth pastor when she was a teenager for many years, and so all I knew was her love for you, Aaron. Like that's my dad. Aaron's my hero. Like, and I never knew that you were her stepdad. Like for years. Like when she's talking about her dad and how much she admires him and all that, I'm looking at her and I'm like, man, her skin complexion don't, because
really light skinned.
Because for those listening on audio, Aaron's black and then Erica's Hispanic. So it's like I'm going like, man, Eileen, who's fully Hispanic, I'm like, this complexion don't match. And then years down the line, I put it together, like, because then one day she comes and she, is asking me advice about her dad, and I'm going like, dang, I didn't know Aaron, who's leading in youth, living that life. And then now I put it all together. I'm like, oh, okay, she has a biological father. Yeah. So I just fast forward to that. So I want to fill in some gap, like then for you, Aaron, like how is it stepping into now blended family? Erica, who might have some maybe some trust issues.
Oh, lots of trust issues.
Maybe. And then like how then at first.
Yeah.
Because now you guys have faith in Trinity together.
Yeah.
So how did you have to get into experience kind of coming into fatherhood with Eileen at about probably 8? You met her at 7, but then you probably started actively playing a role at what, 8?
No, he met her at 9.
Yeah, I met her at 9.
Okay.
Because so like now.
She was 7 when you guys started dating.
Yeah.
She was 9 when you met her.
Faith is the age that Eileen was when Eileen first called me dad.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
and Faith is now 12.
Okay.
So
So it took
Eileen-
from 9 to 12 for her to call you dad.
Yes.
3 years.
So now like as a father, I think back to like, oh man, like just kind of like when me and Erica were messing around. When I met Eileen, we went to like Eileen's cheer thing
Oh, yeah, that
for
was
the
how
weekend.
he met her.
So,
Like,
like-
I wasn't just like, this is Aaron, and I'm dating him. It was like, we're going to a cheerleading
We're going to
competition, Aaron.
we're going to
this weekend. You want to
Vegas.
come?
Yeah.
You'll meet Eileen there. Like
You'll meet Eileen there.
when I pick you up.
Yeah.
So that now, because you asked the question, what would we have done
Yeah.
differently? Now that I know Faith, I wouldn't have, with the man that I am now, wouldn't have met Faith in those circumstances, like going away for the weekend.
Yeah.
Back then, it wasn't even a thought or
Yeah.
a value.
You're like,
of mine.
cool, yeah, let's
I was
do
like,
it.
We going to Vegas?
Yeah.
We go, okay, yeah, you know. So
With kids.
Not safe.
Hold on, let me go grab some money. It's Aaron. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly that.
So throughout this whole thing, we never used the stepfather language. So some people thought Eileen was mixed because she has a big nose. So it's like, oh, okay, I see you're kind of black. You got to.
Eileen listening to this episode today, like, dang,
that's what it
I'm
was.
getting dogged
No,
on.
because-
Last episode, her hot Cheeto fingers. This episode,
Her
that was a
nose.
Beyond the Letter episode.
Now, when she was born, I used to call her Meanie Me because her nose was like bigger than for her face. And I used to be like,
Oh, from the Austin Powers movie.
yeah. I mean, yeah, what's his name from the Austin Powers?
Number 2.
So I remember we're married, and this is where it's like there's a black culture and a Hispanic culture. My parents, we were raised, and it felt like the Huxtables. My wife didn't come from that situation, so it's like well, I'm coming into the situation like all ownership, like trust me, one account, everything, like.
Yeah.
And Erica's like, fall back. like I got this.
Right,
like,
right.
like you're educated.
You're like, I'm the
educated.
leader. You come in. You're like, I'm a man. I'm the
Yeah.
leader. I'm
See,
going to
so
take
like
lead.
when we got married, so like from my perspective, it's like, okay, I'm paying for the wedding. I pay for the ring. Go ahead and quit your job. Go to school to be a nurse because she wasn't a nurse back then. We're moving to San Diego, and I'm thinking I'm running all the right plays that a husband or a father should do. But I was failing to understand who my wife is. My wife is a very independent woman. So as I
had to be.
Single mom.
correct,
Hashtag.
That single mom life.
and that's
Single
all
mom
she
life.
knew. So then, like things that I thought that I should be appreciated for, she's like, "Well, I didn't ask for all this, and I don't need all this because I can get it myself." So then, for
Gotcha.
me, I'm like, "What?" So
Yeah.
that's how it
Yeah.
that's how it started. But going back to like the fatherhood part of it, it was funny because like I came into it because like my father's my hero. So it's like, man, like, okay, now I'm gonna be a father. I'm gonna be like my dad. So then like I would want to discipline Eileen. Eileen would do something wrong, and I was like, we need to get this belt.
Erica's like, you best not out,
This is when we
pop
lived
you.
in San Diego. Hey, we need to get this belt. And Erica's like, what? I'm beating my child like black people. And they're like, so I'm like, so definitely
Well, because
cultural.
it wasn't just let me get the.
I mean, we're keeping it real, right?
It was like, you need to whoop her for this.
Oh, yeah,
blah,
yeah.
blah,
She was
blah.
like,
and I'm
"Whoop."
like, I'm not like to me,
yeah.
whoop came across as like beating my
Beating,
kids.
yeah,
And I was
yeah.
like, I'm not beating her. Like this
Okay,
is
so
not
then-
deserving of a beating.
So then she was like, I'll do the punishment.
I'm like, give me the chancla.
So then she's
Easier.
like, okay, Eileen, what should your punishment be? I'm like, what is this negotiation, right? So then, okay, the whole thing was no TV for a week. The next day I get home from work, they're snuggled watching TV with under the covers. And I'm like, what's going on?
That's mom and best
was
friend right there.
Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. but like as a single mom, like
Yeah.
that was there was no
Yes.
other, right? There
She's
were-
father and mother.
Correct.
So you're playing.
So now
that,
here
you
I
know.
come in like, no, we need to have consistency, our word, blah blah blah. And I remember when Erica will be chilling, she was like, man, Eileen is really getting on my nerves, and I was like, I know, man, she can't be. She was like, what you mean? I was
I'd be like, what? What do you mean she getting on your nerves?
On your nerves.
So she get on
My
your nerves, she
daughter
get
get
on
on
my.
your-
Right,
I said,
right,
this is
right,
my daughter.
right.
No, this is my daughter. Like,
Yeah,
so,
yeah,
yeah.
So I had to really be patient. I had to really be humble. I had to learn, and I didn't even really learn these plays until actually Faith was born. To be completely honest, and then like throughout this process, that's when we gave our life to Christ.
Yeah.
So our values started changing, and then like I started recognizing how selfish I was. Like, so I came to the relationship like, I'm responsible, I have money, I'm successful, you should be on my jock.
Yeah.
Like that's how
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
what I projected to my wife. And
I'm
my
like,
wife
I'm successful.
yes. And
Yeah,
she's like,
yeah,
and I
yeah,
don't need
yes.
you. And I will go
Yeah.
back to Baldwin Park.
Right.
So what I didn't literally, because we moved out to San Diego, and almost like every week, I'm just going back to Baldwin Park.
Yeah.
Like, I just go back. I don't need none of this. Like, you know, but as our values changed, and as I'm starting to understand my wife's perspective, I wasn't taking the time to understand what is it like to experience me from my wife's perspective and her story. I never took that time to recognize. So it's like, I remember one time, she said, "Hey, Aaron, I need you to understand." This was Eileen's first birthday.
Together.
wanna
Not
tell-
her first birthday, but her
Oh.
first party we threw together.
So we get married in June. Her birthday is in August. So I'm excited. You want to tell the story? You want me to tell?
Okay, so my mom, you know, in Hispanic culture, naturally, like the women all hang out, plan the
Yes,
party, and the men
yes.
just kind of just show up and drink, right? Like that's what the
Yeah,
men do, right?
yeah.
So me and my mom are going to go buy stuff for the birthday party, and they're like, "I want to come," and I'm like, "Ooh, okay."
She was like, "Well, what? Why?"
Yeah, it was weird. So I was like, "You wanted my decorations?"
What did your mom do when she first met Aaron?
Let me tell you that. Okay, side note. Let me tell you that.
Is your mom full
Mind you,
Mexican?
my mom was born here in the United States, so she's
But right.
But yeah, she is.
No,
and she's
sweetest
the
woman in the
sweetest
world.
woman
Yeah, yeah.
ever. So
I-
she meant nothing wrong.
She's the best.
Love my Mexican mom.
Well, we're in bubbles, right?
Yeah.
Like that's how
So-
my dad talks about. He was growing up in this East LA bubble,
Yeah.
you know, like
I think at the time I met Erica, there were probably 4 people in Baldwin Park, 4 black people in Baldwin Park. So I go to Erica's house, Erica's mom's house, and she was like, "Ooh." And she runs to the back, and she comes out with 2 watermelons. Don't you people like these?
but means it trying to be like,
But,
so
she was
hospitable.
it was so
like,
kind. It was so, and then so then I was like, "Yes, how did you know?"
I'm like, "Mom," and she's like, "You told me he likes watermelon."
she don't think she would do nothing wrong. She just trying to be welcoming
Yeah.
and hospitable.
Yeah.
I was having this conversation with Gage, Kim's husband, the other week, and he said, "How long did it take you to trust Aaron, like parenting Eileen?" And I said, "After Faith was born." So it took like almost 5 years
Yeah.
for me to be like, "Okay, you've been consistent in the way you treat her. You've been consistent with your discipline." And now I believe that you'll do as good as a job, because I felt like I was the only one that would be
Yeah.
doing the best job to take care of her,
Yeah.
to do a good job to help raise my daughter. Excuse me. So yeah, it took quite some. I had major trust issues.
And I think most people don't realize that and talk about that, nor do people want to put in that amount of work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To build that trust, and most people want it overnight. It's like, well, you chose to marry me, so then you should choose that I'm going to be a good father, I'm going to be a good mother. And it's like, well, because I chose to marry you,
Yeah.
doesn't mean that I immediately trust you with everything
For
that I have
sure,
going on.
for sure.
It means that I was willing to take a vow to start that life of where I build that with you, you know. And I think a lot, because they always say, like, the likelihood when you get divorced once, the likelihood that you remarry and get divorced again goes up by 70%. And I think when they say that, it's because of all these kind of things that isn't talked about as
Right.
much. It's hard. Like, some people want this to be talked about more in a lot of sermons, but it's very hard to give a lot of this context in sermons, because so much has to be spread out. And
everyone's like, I guess the what they've experienced may have not been the same, right?
Right,
Like,
for sure. Everybody's
e-
is completely.
yeah.
It's so hard to be. I mean, that's why good preaching should be at least enough open-ended where you can fill in the gaps of your own personal life
Right.
to bring in application. But obviously tables like this allow more conversation to break that down. And like, well, where is it? So you feel like it took about 5 years. Were you saved by the time you had faith, or you were saved after you had faith?
No, we were. We
Okay.
had already been saved like a year and a half by then.
Okay.
And yeah, it was tough. I think one of the great things that Aaron did, and I would say anyone that's considering getting married or getting into a blended, marrying someone that has a child is really. I mean, and like I said, every relationship is different. In our experience, her dad wasn't around. So Aaron didn't have to deal with baby daddy drama or, what are you doing with my kid? Like, he didn't have to deal with any of that because he just wasn't present. Some other marriages or old relationships have other nuances that they have to go through.
Yeah.
But what he did consistently is really get, once he liked kids, because he didn't like kids. Once
God changed his heart.
Once God changed his heart.
Thank you, Pastor.
Because we were not going to have kids. Even once we got saved, we're like, no, we're not having kids.
Let me tell you how selfish I was back then. Because Erica's little sister had a baby. So Erica's heart started changing. Like, I want a child. I want to have a baby. And I was like, we'll get a dog. And I can't fathom that was me. That felt like a whole life ago. Why would I respond like that? But that's where I was.
The worst part, well, it's not worse, but it was just what we were.
Let me tell you what's even worse about it.
We were in at that time. Seriously, I was like, no, I think I want to have another child. And I remember we had a long conversation. I'm boohoo crying. He's just looking at me like, I told you I didn't want kids. So if we just got to get a divorce, we just got to get a divorce. I told you I didn't want kids. And I was like, are you serious? Fine then. So then I was like, fine, I'll take a dog.
Fine, I'll take it. Did you guys get a dog?
Yeah.
We were terrible dog owners.
Oh, no.
They realized we need a kid instead.
Hey, dogs are harder than kids sometimes. They really are.
Yeah, but what I was trying to say prior to you cutting me off was
There we go.
was he was very intentional with Eileen, going on dates with Eileen, getting to know Eileen more intimately as who is Eileen without Erica, right? So he's put in the work and years of work. And to be honest with you, they have a better relationship than probably her and I do. They communicate more. They talk about more things. I'm more of Mom, just go eat. Let's go have fun.
Yeah.
So he put in the work, years and years of work, where she was also able to be vulnerable with him, with things in her life. And that really helped just bring the whole family unit together.
I could be wrong, but was there a time, did Eileen change her last name? Or
she was willing to.
Okay.
So she wanted to. But now her last name's Barrier. So.
Right. Now she's married, which is great.
She went and got all the application and all the process, but then she realized she had to pay a whole lot of money. And
I thought there was something to do with that. And she was in her 20s.
She wanted to become a Levy.
How did you have to, because this is really big, you have Dr. Chapman, who has the 5 love languages. Yeah. And then he came out, which I encouraged any blended family to get 5 love languages for blended families. Because what he found, because he's a counselor, and so what he found was, which I think is very big of him, and me and Ashley got an opportunity to meet with him and have dinner with him once, which was amazing. But he was telling us when he was just finishing that book was kind of how, I don't want to use the word naive, but how, and that's our heart. That's why we do Beyond I Do and the marriage sprint and everything like that, is how so much stuff is built for the white picket fence life. Okay. Kind of that Bible Belt Christian that just raised in Christian home, Huxtable's type, everything was perfect, right? So it's we kept our virginity, we got married, and it's the person I lost it to, and then our family set us up and got us a house, and it's and so 5 love languages, which are really true. Yeah. What he found through his counseling is when he would meet blended families who would be I used your book and, I came in the family and my wife's daughter's, love language was physical touch, and I tried giving her a hug and she pushed me away. And you know, and he started realizing like, oh shoot, you know, the 5 love languages are true, but how they're applied in different seasons is very different than others. And so knowing 5 love languages is important, but if you don't have trust built,
Yes.
or if you don't have relationship there, then time looks differently.
Yeah.
And because time could look like you're smothering a person if they don't want to be around you as much. If you're coming in a blended family and the child is physical touch and you try to put your arm around them, get off of me. You don't, you know, and you're, what? Like you cuddle with your mom every night, or vice versa. You cuddle with your dad every night. So maybe for you, Aaron, like having faith in Trinity, if when you reflect back, was there a time that like does Eileen have a love language that if you look back and you say, oh yeah, I had to express them differently for a season because now I know where all your daughters are at now, but in that entry time, was there a way that you say, man, I probably approached fatherhood like this with Eileen and then fatherhood with faith in Trinity like this until ultimately it's all met, you know?
That's a good question.
Thank you. I lead a podcast that comes out on Sundays and Thursdays.
Yeah, it has me thinking.
I've been doing this thing for a while.
Eileen's love language is words of affirmation for sure.
Okay.
I didn't recognize because I have 3 brothers, and so I wasn't around girls, right? So I didn't recognize the power of a father's voice when I became married. Didn't know that. So when we first got married, I don't know if you remember, we're coming home from the gas station, and I'm assertively talking to Eileen, and she said, "Dad, you're attacking me. You're attacking me." I remember she had came downstairs. She was in high school. She had changed something with her hair. And like in our house, we bag on each other.
Yeah.
That's what we do. We always bag on each other. And she was coming downstairs. I was like, your hair is whack. Right? And then she got teary-eyed.
Oh.
And I'm like, yo, because Eileen and I would go to the mall and people watch and just bag on everybody.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I recognize is Eileen did not have a lot of experience growing up with a male voice affirming her, loving her, telling her. So I try to be as consistent as I can in my voice for Eileen, especially in moments when I'm disappointed in her. So I remember a time in high school where she was just making not the best choices, and like you know, the season of like you could just find everything wrong with your kid.
Right.
Yeah.
In that season, in order for me to build trust, in order for me to build influence, instead of correcting her, I would just take her out and just talk with her. And in my mind as a dad, I have so many things to talk, grades, boys, blah, 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 blah. But it's like ice cream. Hey, look at them. And it was just building blocks of just trust. That's what it was. And then as she trusted my voice, then when I was disappointed, she still felt loved.
Right.
Before, when I would share something in disappointment, she didn't feel loved. I would say, like in hindsight, though, now as like because comparing to like Eileen and Faith, once we gave our life to Christ and I started trying to be intentional with Eileen, God dealt with me in my jealousy for Erica's ex-husband, and I didn't even know I had that.
Wow.
So like on the surface, it's like he's not here.
Surprise.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, so it's like he's not here. He's,
like,
you know,
what?
Like he's never been around.
but see, like I'll give an example.
I get it. I mean, any man.
Let me give you
yeah.
let me give you an example. And whatever you do in your household is your household. Erica had a rule that hey, if my ex-husband's in jail, Eileen, you can't go visit him in prison.
That
Wait
was
for him to
one
come
thing
out,
that
right?
I made it clear to
Yeah.
him. Like,
So here's what happens. We move into our house. Eileen, you can paint your room whatever color you want to paint. This is the first time Eileen's ever had her own room. So I'm painting her walls.
False.
Oh, my bad. Single mom. Okay. so
I owned a home prior to marrying.
this sounds like you're one of marriage.
Hello? Is this your president? Yes, I'll be right there.
False. Okay.
President asked me to go to the White House and pray for everybody. I'll be right back.
So I'm painting a room.
For all
blah,
intents
blah.
and purposes, Eileen has never had a room in her life.
She had her own room in the house I owned.
Let's just follow.
prior to
Let's just
marrying my-
follow this story,
Okay.
Erica.
She told me, well, Eileen, whatever. Okay, so
That's why you can't have spouses
I'm
on
painting
stuff.
her
'cause they'll
room.
call
Do you
out.
like your room? This and that. And she's having a conversation with me. Dad, can you convince Mom to let me go see my dad?
And you're here grinding, painting the room,
Her
sweating.
only room she's ever had.
I'm painting her room Incredible Hulk
Ever in
green.
life.
Yeah, yeah.
Dad, can you paint the ceiling? Yeah, we'll paint the ceiling. It looks stupid. And
It
then
was
I'm
the
just like,
ugliest thing
yeah,
ever.
but I'm trying to be a dad.
Yeah.
But in that moment, it's like all she's thinking about is, why can't I go see my dad? It's Thanksgiving. So like, and I didn't know that I was dealing with that until I gave my life to Christ. Didn't even know.
Yeah.
So what would end up happening is I would be intentional, but sometimes for the wrong motives,
Yeah.
because then the wrong thing will set me off.
Yeah.
So once I really confessed that and dealt with that, it helped me to honor Steve. It helped me to pray for him. It helped me for when my daughter would have complexities about her biological father, I can come alongside and just love her because now I love him.
Yeah.
And I think that was a challenge before. I didn't love him. Didn't
Oh,
didn't
yeah.
respect him, didn't honor but
I remember one time he's like, I don't ever want to see a picture of him.
yeah.
And then
Aaron
I
said that.
yeah, and I was moving or something. That I guess there was a picture of him, and he was like,
So but that's the face of jealousy.
Yeah, right.
So true story. Here's what happens. You know how I meet him? Here at church,
oh yeah,
random in the courtyard. Hey, let me just introduce you to my. And if I hadn't have dealt with that, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. The 30-second body on site. If you hadn't dealt with that.
These praying hands.
he's like, Vince,
And what
get over
did
here, right?
what did he tell you when you guys met?
We hugged.
Yeah.
Yeah, we hugged.
He's a nice guy.
Aaron.
No.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
No,
he's
yeah,
Aaron
yeah,
too.
I'm like,
I like him.
I like Aaron. I know.
No,
I know Aaron very well.
No,
Yeah.
he's always been a nice guy. He just had issues.
Yeah. So like,
Yeah.
I can honestly say I love him.
Yeah.
I can honestly say when my daughter has complexities, I believe that I'm able to help her because I don't have anything in my heart against that or comparison or anything like that.
Yeah.
And that took a while.
Yeah.
You said you repent. How did you deal with that feeling of whatever it was, jealousy, insecurity, or you said you confessed it, or what? Did you do anything else that
How did you do
helped,
with it?
like that you dealt with it? Yeah.
I would pray for.
Just thinking if someone else is dealing
I
with
would
the same
pray
thing.
for him by myself, and I think that's how anybody should treat somebody that they're having a hard time with. Talk about them in the presence of God. So then, when you look in their eyeballs, you remember I had that person in the presence of God with me, and it's harder to like when
Yeah.
you.
And there was never a point in time where you ever were cruel towards Erica because of her past.
Was I?
No, I don't. I never got that sense.
Because I think there's a lot of times, not even just in obviously blended families, but just in relationships of knowing the type of past that someone may have had and bringing that up in every maybe argument or struggle or trial. Like, the reason why that's why Eileen's acting like that, because she never had a father. Now she has, you know what I mean? Like, bringing that.
No, because that just kills relationships.
Right.
Yeah, if I would say anything,
Believe it or not, we do a lot of counseling, and those are pretty common.
Yeah.
no, even though when Aaron didn't like kids, he never ever once he knew that this is the direction of marriage that we were going, he always from day one said, "That's my kid.
Okay.
That's my kid." And if people would come up to him and be like, "That's your daughter,"
You
he'd
look
be like,
young,
"Yeah,"
or
and
yeah.
and he'd be like, "Yeah, that's my daughter," and they'd be like the same thing, like
Yeah.
she don't look
Yeah.
black. He looks like he looks
yeah.
like he's 20
Yeah.
himself. You know what I mean? He's like, "No, that's my daughter." Like never ever said that's my stepdaughter. Nothing,
Yeah.
nothing. He always, and I think that gave Eileen a sense of like, okay, he's there. He's there for me. So I'm gonna embrace him as my dad. And she has ever since day one. So he never made her feel like you're not mine.
Yeah.
Oh heck no!
Yeah.
I asked Erica's mom permission to marry Erica.
Permission or blessing?
I ain't finna get nobody's permission. I'm married. No.
So the first, she says, I know you do well loving Erica. Do you love Eileen? How will you take care of Eileen? And I'll never forget that.
Yeah.
So like the way that I treat Eileen is in alignment with my values now, but also is like how I honor my mother, how I honor Erica. So.
Yeah.
Was there ever a time for you, Erica? Like, did you ever, as you were building this trust with Aaron and stuff like that, was there like years down the line that you felt like you relapsed into like, no, I don't trust him anymore? Like, was there a time it's like you guys were going strong, and then you felt like Erica kind of pulled back or re-win it? Because that's what I see a lot is like when we're doing counseling and then we see people second marriage, third marriage, like there's a time where especially on the woman's side that, what's up, Jermaine? Oh, there's a time on the woman's side where like she's all in and she like, this is amazing, I found a Prince Charming, like, oh my gosh, I'm not gonna get like those, like I've even counseled people that were in their fourth marriages, and so there's this season where they go like, oh, it's not gonna be like all the other ones, and then they go steady, and then they're just like a day where then they're just like, nope, never mind, I don't trust again. I don't, and then they just fully relapse back. Some of them happen in the engagement period. Some of them are doing it in marriage. Because I'll sit in some of these not premarital, but marital counselings, and like they'll start bringing up stuff that happened from the second marriage, third marriage, and then you just see the person kind of, the man is like just frozen. Like, wait, I thought we were good. We just went to San Diego this weekend, and it's almost like this, like I woke up and then I just chose fear today. Like, had you ever had a moment like that?
I don't.
Like maybe Eileen wouldn't have her own room again. Whatever. The only reason why it's great we can talk about Eileen is because we have great relationship with Eileen. Eileen's so mature.
Yeah.
She's married now.
Yeah.
She's older. So we're not talking about,
What? I'll be honest with you. Once I gave my life to Christ and I started on that journey in my relationship and being in His Word and understanding who God was, no. Prior to that, I would say, I would be like, I would. See, Aaron, one of the other things that we had to deal with as a blended family and a second marriage for me was that the things that Aaron's never been married before.
Yeah.
So the things that we had to deal with.
Yes.
We would argue about something, and for me, like,
It's the end.
yo, this is important. And
It
for
would
her,
be like dumb, like
so-
taking the
so-
trash
no,
out or
so-
leaving
so-
something on the
So
counter.
I'm like, hey, we got to talk about this. We got to get on the same page. And that was overbearing for Erica. And
Like,
again,
just let it go. She's thinking,
because
'cause
for
move on.
what
in
she's
my
dealt
mind-
with,
In my previous marriage, I'm dealing with like emotional abuse. I'm dealing with a non-present husband. I'm dealing with like I have to run to the bank to get my money out to pay my bills, or my ex-husband's gonna beat me to the money, and then I'm not gonna have money to pay bills. Right? Like big impact stuff in life, life-altering stuff. Right?
Yeah.
He wants to
arguing
talk
over,
about. I don't know, like
you bought the wrong cereal.
and I would literally be like, and that's when he said, like, I would say I'm gonna go back to Bowling Park. I'd be like, are you serious? Like, I don't have time for this. Like, this is what you want to
that
argue
little
about.
Latina sass.
And I'd be like, I don't have time for this. If you want to, Aaron would talk and talk and talk and talk.
Which is why God called him to ministry.
Now I see it. Yeah. Now I see why. And I would literally just turn around and just go to sleep.
and that like, so it's like for me, I'm working, I got this, I'm like, I'm so it wasn't, for me, it wasn't the issue, it was how I was regarded in the issue.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like,
You don't care about what I care about.
Correct. Or I interpret it like you don't care about me, because it's not about. So like if we argued about water, and I think water is stupid, that's fine. But when you turn your back and say I'm not going to talk about it, now I feel rejected.
Yep.
So that was one of the things that we had to get through.
Yeah. I learned later, like most recently, that was like kind of a defense mechanism of mine.
Did you ever feel like it was there ever a time in those times you feel like you guys weren't going to make it?
Oh, year one, we didn't think we thought it was done. Like
I think like every 2 months for the first year, we're like, that's it. This is not going to work. Let's just file for divorce. And then I'm over here thinking like I'm a failure. I suck at marriage. Like everything that's going on, like in marriage, it's me. I'm the problem. I'm the one that can't get it together.
But like I
Because he was
I
a
didn't
good
know,
man. He
I didn't
just
know that though.
Was
I didn't-
selfish.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, for sure.
No,
Great
he
guy.
was very selfish.
Just a jerk. No, but here's the thing.
And the thing is, when I met him, I perceived his selfishness as he was very confident.
Yeah.
Like, and that's what drew me to him. Like, I was attracted to his confidence, and then I was like, no, this guy's just
Yeah, he was
selfish.
living Frank Sinatra. I do it my way. And you were
Yeah.
like, oh, I like that.
Yeah,
He
and I was
swag
like,
me. He
then
does
I
it his way.
Until we got married,
Yeah,
and she was like, "I'm a single mom. I don't need none of this."
I do it my way.
Here's another common thing. Maybe we can end with this thought. We're almost hitting an hour. We'll do a part 2. Well, commonly when we do a lot of premarital counseling, what I see most common with women who started having to have a child young, anywhere between 21 and younger. And when I'm not talking about, it's not the like ring by spring kid who graduated college. I'm talking about the one who had to be a mother like
At a
young age, 16, 17, 18, dealing with family stuff. Then they get married and, a lot of times it doesn't work. So what I see with the woman of that personality, like lived a really stark single mother life starting at 16, 19, 18, is she has the aptitude to not know how to be a friend and to be a wife. All she knows is mother. Mm-hmm. That's all she knows. Mm-hmm. All she knows. So she's not really good at having too many friends because I was mom at 17. I have time for friends. I went to nursing school. I did whatever. I grind. And then there's a season I got to work, and then I'm raising my children or my child, and then when they begin to get into a relationship where there's a man they can trust, they still find it challenging because then I don't know how to be a wife. I don't know how to truly do that. All I know is mother. So then they stick with is mothering him too. Yeah. And either he goes like, oh, this is cushy. I like this. I just get told what to do or whatever. And he gets very comfortable. And then he just lets her take the lead. You could be mom. I'll be at one of your children too. Yeah. Or huge conflict because he's trying to lead while she's trying to lead. Mm-hmm. And for her, it's like, do you have any advice to that, or did you struggle with any of that
I
at any
definitely
point?
struggled with that. It's the latter. I don't think I ever mothered him, but I'm very controlling.
I didn't think I mothered him. What did she say? False. False.
Well, I'm because I was just a take charge type of person, right? Like I had to do it or else it wouldn't get done. And so there probably still is a lot of times where I've had to learn to just like let him lead. So yes, in the beginning it was rough. Like, no, we're gonna do it this way, and I would make him feel stupid. Mm-hmm. And it's crazy because that's my biggest pet peeve. Like, you can do whatever you want to me, but if you make me look stupid, oh my gosh, it's like all hell will break loose.
Ashley, this ain't a podcast on us. Be quiet.
I'm going for the jugular.
Yeah, yeah. Oh man, there's been a couple times that he's experienced when I've
that defense mode when you feel that way.
Yeah. So I early on, obviously before Christ, it was stubbornness. It was much stubbornness on my part, learning how to just be a wife and how to be a mom and how to let my husband lead. Once I got saved, I've learned that I have to trust God even when I don't trust my husband. Mm-hmm. And there's been a lot of times where I've had a lot of trust issues with my husband. And I believe that God got me through those seasons because I didn't have much faith in my husband at those moments. Mm-hmm. And so I had to place all my faith and all my trust in God because he hasn't let me down. So everyone has different situations, but in my circumstance, I would say trust God even if you don't trust your spouse.
Yeah.
That's good.
That's great.
That's great.
Yeah, I think that's great wisdom. Well, we'll bring back a part 2. Hopefully Nancy's always really good at this. So those that listen to this episode, if you have questions that after we broke this down and you're like, hey, go deeper on this or talk about this in regards to either blended families, but we'll also do another one in the future of just also our systems. Aaron and Erica are an accountability couple to us in our lives. And so we do family vacations together and all that. And that's part of, for me and Ashlee, that's because, number one, we want to be accountable to other married people, but also we want to be accountable to married people that we aspire to be like at the same time. And so, us just being in the thick of it, I'll say this, I'll close with this. Erica doesn't cry too often. She got tough skin.
Yeah,
She's probably the most sensitive person at this
I
table.
know, I already know. Well, Ashley's there pretty much too, but I don't want to I'll say this. It was great. Me and Aaron were hanging out the other day.
Oh gosh, don't make her
I just said, what's your biggest future for your life? What's your number one goal? And he said, my number one goal is to give my wife the family she deserves. That was his answer. And I felt that, and I think every man should aspire to that. Not, hey, Aaron didn't say nothing about money, cars, 401k. That was the answer. So I respect that.
I respect that too.
And that's a great. Do you guys have anything before we close off?
No.
Aaron looks like he's about to cry.
I just want to say, I love you, girl.
Love you too, boo.
All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Put some questions if you have any. We'll come back. We'll revisit them. Bye.